Hi, this is Monica Packer, and you're listening to About Progress, where we are about progress made practical. I know you don't come to this podcast for cleaning advice. And I also hope that you know that my home is not perpetually so clean that it's ready for guests at any time. Also, not ready for those guests to rub their fingers over the baseboards, definitely not ready for that. But I believe you know this because I know it too. Our environment matters. It affects the way we feel. It affects the way we show up to our lives. And let's be honest, managing a home takes up a great deal of time, and it carries a lot of weight mentally. I feel like cleaning and learning how to clean better and how to simplify it and to systemize it, it can take us down this wormhole on the internet that only spits us out on the other side more overwhelmed and more inadequate than when we started down that wormhole in the first place. There are so many shoulds and prescriptions with cleaning, but there's also simply so much to do and so much to manage and so much that goes into spinning all the plates that keeping and maintaining a home entail. So instead of offering you a Pinterest-worthy cleaning wormhole, I want to offer an alternative, a way to prioritize your home, but in ways that match maybe a busier season in your life, maybe less energy, or simply because you're burnt out of constantly cleaning all the time. The alternative I'm going to offer you is inspired by a book I read several years ago called Effortless by Greg McKeown. And in this book, Greg poses a question about even the most essential, meaning important things in our lives. And the question is, how can I make this easier? So in that spirit, I want to propose a defining question to how we see this important thing about maintaining and cleaning our home, but in this way. How can we make cleaning easier? Today, I'm not going to share with you the words of another expert. Instead, I will be sharing my own tips and tricks to deep cleaning and tidying and cleaning in general, and how to do so in ways that make it easier, make it flexible, but still consistent. And just mind you that this is coming from me, a normal mom who has clutter on my desk right now as I'm recording, who is almost always behind on laundry, even though 3 of my 5 kids do their own laundry completely. Also, as a woman who loves having a clean and orderly home, but rarely has it all done all at the same time. This episode is for you, not because I'm an expert, but because I'm quite typical in this department. I can actually solidify my cleaning philosophy into one made-up word, cleanish. And I thought maybe that's what the world needs more of sometimes. Normal advice from someone who is good enough or pretty good at something. So if cleanish fits the bill for you, stick with me and listen to this episode I recorded several years ago that became a very popular episode, and I thought it was really relevant today too. You can hear it all right up after the break. This episode is sponsored by Air Doctor. Americans spend an average of 90% of their time indoors, but did you know that the indoor air we breathe can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air? I think a lot of you are coming around to that fact because I've gotten more and more messages asking what air purifier I have and if I'd recommend it. And the answer is Air Doctor, and yes, I 100% would recommend it. You can breathe easy with Air Doctor, the award-winning air purifier that eliminates 99.99% of dangerous contaminants like allergens, viruses, smoke, gases, mold spores, and more. One of my sons was recently diagnosed with more indoor allergies, and the doctor was relieved to hear we already have an air purifier. You can top that off with lots of smog days in our beautiful Salt Lake Valley, and I can tell you that the relief I have is high, both emotionally and physically, that Air Doctor is in my home. Air Doctor was voted Best Air Purifier by Newsweek, so it's no surprise that 98% of Air Doctor customers agree. Their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier, and the Packer family is one of those happy customers. Unlike other purifiers, Air Doctor captures invisible particles 100 times smaller than standard HEPA filters. Head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code MONICA to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee plus a 3-year warranty and $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctorpro.com. That's AIRDOCTORPRO.com using promo code MONICA. One of the long-standing things that has connected us as a community is the Do Something list. The first one I ever made way back in 2016 totally changed my life and actually led to this podcast. And I have heard from hundreds of women over the years from the About Progress community that the Do Something list has changed their lives too. What is it? Well, it's a way for you to prioritize your own fulfillment, to explore who you are, and all outside the pressures of goals and resolutions. If you're ready to have more hobbies, to have more creativity, to have more fun, or rest, or connection this year, whatever it is, make sure you make your own Do Something list. To help you, I have a free training that is ready for you online right now. Go to aboutprogress.com/DSL, and you can sign up for my free training, which includes a video and audio workshop, resources, including a guide and examples of so many DSLs from real women of this community. Again, go to aboutprogress.com/DSL to get your free training. Now it's time to dig in to cleanish and everything I have to share with you as a cleanish individual. Before we go practical, we need to do two things. First is provide a definition. What is cleaning? I know it's weird that I'm starting this way, but I think each of us view cleaning very differently. And also we can mistake cleaning for tidying. And I think there's a big difference between tidying and cleaning, and even cleaning and deep cleaning. So for the context of this episode, I am defining cleaning as anything beyond tidying. Tidying to me is mostly about managing things, like putting them away. But cleaning is about cleaning the things and the spaces those things go in. Cleaning often involves tools like using cloths or soap or scrubbers or other cleaning agents. I think we got it. Cleaning. The second thing we need to do is we have to go deeper. Because of course, everything goes deeper. If you were to define your own cleaning manifesto, what would that be? A manifesto is, I quote, a written statement declaring publicly the intentions, motives, or views of its issuer, unquote. So in other words, a cleaning manifesto is just a sentence or two that sums up the way you view cleaning in your household. To assist you in creating that, I have a series of prompts that can help you create your own cleaning manifesto. I'm going to share more about why this matters, but first I want to tell you that I have a helpful resource for you if you are listening to this and you're wanting to follow along and get more cleanish in your home. It's called the Cleanish Guide. And it makes it so you don't have to take notes on this episode. You can listen to me walk you through this right here, and then you can move through it later yourself with the guide in hand. The guide is free and it will be emailed out to all of those on my newsletter automatically. But if you're not on the newsletter or you lose it somehow, you can get it for free at aboutprogress.com/cleanish. And that's CLEANISH. That's the way I spell cleanish. You don't have to have the guide, but it's there for you if you want. So, okay, let's go through how to create your own cleaning manifesto. And let me say first that answering these questions matters because they act as a guide for you. It will help you better sift through the shoulds from the internet or even from your neighborhood. You'll be able to better prioritize for yourself about the practical do's and don'ts of cleaning, because you'll know what matters to you. And that will free you up to both prioritize certain things and simplify others and do away with the rest. Also, this manifesto will help you honor where other people's cleaning manifestos don't align with yours. So maybe you can stop judging Sally down the street or comparing yourself to her. So let me go through those questions and then I'll share my own answers just as a way to help exemplify the way this can look. The questions are, 1, why does having a clean home matter to you? The second question is, What is the definition of clean for you and your home? The third question is, how is deep cleaning different to you than more surface level everyday cleaning? Those are actually the three questions. That's it. Why does having a clean home matter to you? What is the definition of clean for you and your home? And how is deep cleaning different to you than more surface level everyday cleaning? Now that I've repeated those, let me share my answers. Number one, having a mostly clean and orderly home, in other words, cleanish, helps me think more clearly. It helps me be more present with my loved ones. It helps keep us safe, especially with little kids. It helps us know where things are and where to put them when we're done. I love how having a cleanish home makes me feel. I also love that my children take on responsibilities to help care for our home so that they can grow into adults that know how to do this in their own homes too. The second question is, what does clean look like for you in your home? I would define cleanish like this. Things are put where they go. Surfaces are cleared and wiped daily. The main rooms are vacuumed daily and dusted weekly. Bathrooms are deep cleaned once a week. And other areas of the home are managed in regular and routine ways. And this is the most important part for me. All of the above are done more times than not. That's such an important phrase there. That's how I want to simplify cleaning. How can we do this in a way where we have a cleanish home more times than not, so it's still reasonable? I want you to really define what clean looks like for you, that literally. What does it look like for your home to feel and look clean or cleanish for you? And the third and final question for the manifesto prompts, how is deep cleaning different to you than surface level everyday cleaning? And that's important just because it helps you differentiate what you can simplify and let go of and how often to prioritize things. So for me, deep cleaning is outside of our typical daily maintenance of tidying and cleaning. And some parts are done with predictability cleaning, and other deep cleaning items are done as needed or noticed, or when I have someone coming to visit. Just got to be honest about that. Okay, so with those prompts, I can now sum that all up in just one, maybe two sentences as our cleaning manifesto. So here is the Packer family cleaning manifesto. Together, the Packer home strives to create a cleanish environment so we can love where we live and better live where we love. There's some keywords there for me: together, cleanish, striving, meaning not perfection, and the big reason why. I just want to love where we live so that we can better live and work within the place that we love and love the people we love. So what would your manifesto be? Start by answering those three questions. And again, that's in the cleanish guide for you so that you can write them out on the guide or just remember what they are. And if you already kind of know for yourself what your cleaning manifesto would look like, you don't even need to go through those questions. You can just share it off the top of your head. What does cleaning look like and feel for you? Now, there is one more big question, and we're going to work on that practically. And the big question is, how can you make cleaning easier? We're going to cover that up practically next after the break. We are back and talking about the big, effortless defining question. Now that we have a manifesto, how can we make cleaning easier? Off the top of your head, you're going to have a few answers. For me, I know what those are. I know right now, if I were going to make cleaning easier, there's a few things I know we can better prioritize. One is better purging and organizing some troublesome areas in our home that are driving me nuts. My boys' bedroom at the bottom of our basement stairs, the first thing you see when you come at the bottom, always makes me feel icky and a little angry. It's just not working organization-wise. I need to go through their toys and purge. And if I can do that, it will make cleaning easier overall, both in their room for them when they're cleaning it and just that cleanish feeling in our home. Because if that room's always a disaster, it's just never feeling cleanish. Another way I can make cleaning easier for our home is create a list of deep cleaning tasks as I notice them. So when I walk past an area that I'm like, oh, I keep forgetting to clean that, I just want to write it down on a notepad that I'm going to keep in my kitchen just so I can take it off my head and have it on a list that we can cover later on. Two other things I think that will help with making our home make cleaning easier is to better incentivize some deep cleaning items with the kids. We do have a chart that I'm going to talk about later on a wall that helps, but I want to incentivize it better or bring it to light more often. And the final thing for me is I want to better systemize some deep cleaning items with the family that regularly come up that I cannot get to. That will help make cleaning easier for us. So off the top of your head, you probably have some answers to this too. Some ways that overall, you can make cleaning easier if you prioritize some things. This episode is proudly sponsored by LolaVie, an award-winning hair care line founded by the ever-fabulous and ever-iconic Jennifer Aniston. You know that feeling when you have a really great hair day? You feel like you're unstoppable, maybe more charismatic, you can't stop touching your hair. I've been having more of those kind of good hair days, and that's exactly why Jennifer Aniston set out to create LolaVie, to bottle up all those good feelings. Now, with the new year, it's time for you to experience those new feelings by prioritizing taking care of yourself in this simple way, having great hair care products. LolaVie's lineup consists of clean, plant-powered products designed for every hair type and texture, so you can have silky, shiny hair without sacrificing hair health. This award-winning brand is powered by their naturally derived peptide bond builder known as B-Pro3 bond technology. It's derived from chia seeds and clinically proven to prevent, protect, and repair signs of aging and damage on hair. It combats the damage right where it starts, guarding against dryness and breakage while delivering high-performance results. I have been a big fan of the restorative shampoo and conditioner, and I've been a big fan of all of the styling products from the glossing detangler to the air dry cream and so much more. You can unlock Jennifer Aniston approved hair at lolavie.com and celebrate the new year with stronger, healthier hair. As our loyal listeners, you'll get an exclusive 15% off your entire order when you use the code PROGRESS at checkout. That's 15% off your order at lolavie.com with promo code PROGRESS. Please note that you can only use one promo code per order and discounts can't be combined. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Your hair will thank you. For years, I have been teaching women how to do habits differently. I've been so grateful to see the concepts that have changed the most for you, with responses from women in our community like, "You're changing the habit game for all of us, and this is so needed, and you should write a book on this." Well, guess what? I am. And I'm already so eager for you to get your hands on it, hopefully early 2026. And since I can't share the title yet, and since I'm very likely to self-publish, I need a committee of gal pals, if you will, like you, who are ready to be my early test readers, to pre-order the book, and to act as grassroots publicists the moment each of those steps are made ready. Would you like to be on that book launch committee? Get on the list by going to aboutprogress.com/book committee. Even if you just want to be first in the know with any book news, that's where you sign up. Again, go to aboutprogress.com/book committee. It's in the show notes for you. I can't wait to share as much as I can with you along the way, and I'm already so grateful for your support. Now, if you are struggling with this and you don't really have your own game plan of things you can work on to make cleaning easier, one, I'm going to help you create more of the practical list of ways you can do that. I'm also going to share a lot of tips and tricks that I do that help make my home cleanish. To do that, I want to go back to Greg McKeown. His first book, Essentialism, was life-changing for me. And it helps you truly understand for yourself what is essential and how to do away with the rest. This book made Greg famous. We were actually lucky enough to have him on the podcast last year. It was the biggest get I've ever had on this podcast. But in this book, Effortless, the book that followed Essentialism, Greg talked about what happened as he became really famous for this idea, and he went around the world talking about essentialism. He found people asking him this, and he also lived it himself. What do you do when what is essential is still too much or too intensive and you still find yourself burnt out? Even if you're only prioritizing the most essential things, what do you do if that's still too much? And that's why he came up with the book Effortless, because even for himself, having a very full life, he found it impossible to do without burning out. So instead of tucking his tail and heading for the hills, I love that Greg proceeded with curiosity. And he really dug into, well, what do we do about this? Does this mean that I'm a fraud? That everything I talk about essentialism is basically useless advice? Instead, he learned how we can take what's essential and make it easier. So let's do that now for you. How can we make cleaning easier? Practically. So with that manifesto in hand, if you're feeling stuck in that all or nothing overwhelm place, let's take what is essential about cleaning for you because of that manifesto. And now proceed with that question in mind. How can I make cleaning easier? And come up with a game plan. This is also part of the Cleanish Guide. I have another series of questions that will help create that game plan for you. Here is the Make Cleaning Easier game plan, the way for you to practically apply what is essential about cleaning for you. The first thing you need to consider is which areas of your home matter the most to clean more regularly so that you can feel at home in your home, and which areas do not as much. It doesn't mean they don't matter. It just means they don't matter as much. So for me, the areas that matter the most for us to have clean more often or cleanish more often will always be the front room and kitchen area. We live in a fairly modest home, I would say, for where we live with 5 kids. We have a 2,700 square foot home, and our front room and kitchen are the main hub for everything. And it's also the first thing you see when you walk in any door that leads outdoors to our home. From the garage to the back patio to the front door, you see the front area immediately and the kitchen attached to it. So that will always be the highest priority for me. And back when I shared what clean looks like for me, and I shared having that front room vacuumed and cleanish like every day, that's why. It's because it matters the most. There's other areas in my home that don't matter as much. Bedrooms, although there's parts of things that I like to make sure I'm doing regularly within the bedrooms for myself and my kids. The laundry area, the mudroom, while they matter, they don't matter as much. A big example to me on what's the lowest on my priority list is my car. I feel like the car is an extension of the home, especially when you're running your kids all over the place. But my car is largely always in need of a wash and a vacuum, and sometimes desperately so. And I've just had to own that that's on the lower end of the priority list, and that's okay for me. So again, how to make cleaning easier game plan. The first question is, which areas of your home matter the most to be cleaned more regularly for you to feel at home in your home, and which areas do not? The second thing I want you to consider is, of those areas that matter the most, consider them one by one and ask this filtering question. Do you have to do it? So what goes into keeping that part of your home well managed in a way that is more consistent for you? And of those tasks, do you have to do them? If the answer is yes, only you or largely you, because of the season of your life, or maybe that's just how the responsibilities are stacking in your family, you're the ones that have to do them. I want you to continue on to the next area. And if the answer is no, I actually don't have to do them myself, also move on to the next steps. Because either way, this is how you're going to take the tasks that those main areas of your home or the prioritized areas of your home need to be done in order to have that area cleanish. These are the steps you need to follow to simplify it and make it easier for you to do. So here are what I call the steps to cleanish. And again, this is all in the Cleanish Guide for you. So take a task and ask these questions. How can you simplify it? How can you break it down? And how can you systemize it? Let's start with simplify. When I say simplify, I want you to think of lowering the hurdle to what qualifies as clean for you. So according to your own manifesto, how can you lower the hurdle in what will look like clean for this area? There's a couple ways on how you can do this. And each of these steps, I'm going to break down the how. You can make this task specific. For example, do you really need to use toothbrushes to clean every crevice in a drawer in order for it to count as clean? Or if you lower the hurdle, can you just vacuum out the crumbs and maybe use a cloth to dust parts that need to, even around the items while they stay in the drawer, and call that drawer clean? How can you simplify by lowering the hurdle on what clean looks like for you for a specific task? Meaning, how can you lower the hurdle to having a clean closet? How can you lower the hurdle to having a clean toilet or a clean shower? Or maybe some things don't need to be lowered the hurdle, and that's okay. But regardless, we don't have to do all the time. That leads to the second area of how. Overall, does this area of your home that you want to prioritize, does it need to be cleaned all the time? Like all the time, this area is always going to be this clean. Or can it be that clean and visited in order to make it clean? Can it be visited daily, weekly, monthly, seasonally, or yearly? A few examples here. Daily, for me, my front room and kitchen will get thoroughly cleaned a few times a day. But even then, it's not all day. There are different pockets of time where there's going to be things on the counter. There's going to be dishes in the sink. There's going to be a rug that needs to be vacuumed. There's going to be toys out. But I have a few touchstones throughout the day that help me keep that area of the home cleanish. Okay, so for me, I always clean those areas after breakfast and after dinner, and sometimes in between. But most of the time, it's okay if it's a little or a lot messy. A weekly example for me, bedrooms, I do want to be cleaned weekly. That means dusted and vacuumed and organized. But that doesn't have to happen every day. That can be more of a weekly checkpoint. Although I do like them to tidy. Remember, tidying is different than cleaning, but cleaning for the bedrooms can happen weekly. Monthly, some things that can happen are things like my floors are washed in my office. Now, in the kitchen, those are washed weekly. But my floors up here or in the basement, that can happen monthly. Is that terrible? Or maybe the patio can be swept just monthly instead of every weekend. Seasonally, here are some things I like to have cleaned seasonally. The garage cleaned out, and usually I do spring and fall, so not even 4 times a year, just twice a year. The mudroom, deeply organized, I like to do at the beginning of summer and the beginning of fall, and sometimes in the winter too. And the outside of my windows, of my house windows, I like to have that cleaned seasonally, and I do that just twice a year, and I actually hire that one out. So you can hire things out too. For some yearly tasks, I like our walls to be dusted, but just once a year. And I remember doing that in my home growing up. I washed the walls regularly, by the way, in my front area and kitchen. Like I can spot clean the walls, but having all the walls dusted with like a broom or a Swiffer, like that can happen just once a year. So back to simplify. This means you lower the hurdle to what qualifies as clean, and you decide how often that needs to happen. The next step to cleanish is you break it down. So now that you've lowered the hurdle to what clean looks like in these tasks, and you've spread them out over how often to have them cleaned, how can you simplify these tasks by breaking them down? This is actually my favorite way to do more deep cleaning tasks. This is where you take the chore and you do it in bits and pieces. An example here is that I rarely clean out the fridge all at once. I do it more regularly in bits and pieces, like every time I go to the store. And I'll share more about that particular example later on. Another example of this for myself is cleaning the shower. This is actually a new thing that I've been breaking down lately. I tend to get overwhelmed by cleaning our shower. I know the time it entails. I know the tools I like to use. I know the agents I like to use as well. And so I tend to avoid it or procrastinate until it gets really gross and is really hard to clean. So instead, I have broken down this task and I'm doing it in doable ways. Instead of cleaning the entire shower top to bottom, which feels good, but it's very intensive, I finally decided to just clean part of the shower a few times a week. I'll share more about how I do that specifically coming up. But what things can you do by breaking them down and spreading them apart? Like any organization project can be done this way. You can just do one drawer a day until your kitchen is organized or vacuumed out or wiped down. You can clean out drawers that way. You can dust walls and ceilings and bits and pieces. You can spot clean rugs or spot clean walls broken apart. You can dust high areas in bits and pieces. I am a classic give a mouse a cookie kind of cleaner. Sometimes I get swept away and I'm dusting one thing and suddenly I've dusted the entire house. And I have to challenge myself to, in order to dust more often, just break it down and just dust something because it needs to be dusted right then. And it's okay if I don't do the rest of the entire house. So that was the second step to cleanish, to making cleaning easier. The third is to systemize it. Now that you've lowered the hurdle, you know what clean entails, and you've broken it out, now it's time to systemize it. You put it in a system that works for you. Now, I know some women in our community that use an Excel spreadsheet, and they know what chores need to be done, what month, and in what way, and they almost have it as a schedule too. That may work for you. It doesn't work for me, and that's okay. So let's give you some options. How can you systemize something? How can you make it a regular part of your life that's something you can expect? The biggest thing for me is you must attach the tasks. If you've broken them apart, you need to attach them to something. Otherwise, they're dangling. That means they will not be remembered. In order to attach things, you can do certain chores at certain times. You can do certain chores on certain days. You can do certain chores in certain seasons. Some examples of that, certain chores at certain times. I always start the dishwasher at night, and my kids always empty the dishwasher in the morning. We always load the dishwasher after each meal. That's an example of certain chores being done at certain times of the day. The next one, certain chores on certain days. I always clean the silver appliances in my home on Sundays. I always wash the kitchen floor and my bathroom floor on Fridays. And I always clean my bathrooms on Saturday. Quick caveat, whenever I say always, I'm actually meaning more times than not. So sometimes I wash the floors on Saturday, or sometimes I don't get to my bathroom at all. That's still okay if I'm doing it more times than not. The final thing I shared there was certain chores in certain seasons. That goes back to cleaning out the garage or the mudroom or cleaning windows on the outside. To assist you in systemizing your cleaning by attaching it to something that already exists in your life, let's borrow from our sticky habit method principles, the when-then pairing. This idea is that in order to create a new habit, you need to attach it to a habit that already exists, something that already is happening. You can do that with cleaning. You can systemize cleaning by creating a when-then pairing that helps you remember when to do it. I shared earlier about how I am breaking down cleaning the shower. In order for me to remember that, I needed to attach cleaning part of the shower to something that I already do. For me, that's washing my hair. I take a shower every day, but I don't wash my hair every day. I wash my hair about every 2 or 3 days. So that's about 2 or 3 times a week. So now I know when I wash my hair, then I clean part of the shower. So when I wipe down the kitchen counters, then I always wipe down the bathroom counters that are attached to the kitchen. Then. I always wipe down the kitchen counters, and the bathroom counters were bothering me that are close by the kitchen. So now that's my when-then pairing. When I wipe down the kitchen counters, then I wipe down the bathroom counter because it takes 2 minutes or less. Another example of this is when I empty the clothes from the dryer, then I also empty out the lint tray. Another one, when I finish washing my face, I use that cloth and I wipe off the sink and the counter. And then I put it in my dirty laundry hamper to be washed later. Those are examples of smaller tasks that take 2 minutes or less that you can attach to another thing that you always do. But let's say you have a larger chore that you need to pair with something. It needs to be attached to something. So you can pair that with a regular event. Back to my cleaning the fridge example. When I get groceries, then I toss out any bad food before putting in the new food. I get extra credit whenever I wipe down the shelves too. But that doesn't always happen. It's a more times than not thing. But there's things like the drawers need to be vacuumed out. So I have another event that I attach this to. Whenever we come back from traveling, whether we're visiting family in California, or maybe we've gone on a vacation as a family, whenever we get back from traveling, then I vacuum out the drawers in the fridge and wipe down the whole fridge before we fill it all up, because that's the time when my fridge is the most empty. Another example here, when something spills in the microwave, then I do a deep cleaning, which means for me, I put water in a bowl with soap in it and I microwave it for 5 minutes and it sterilizes the microwave. And once it's done, I let it sit for 5 minutes and then I remove it and wipe it all down. And it's the easiest way to clean. So sometimes it can just be circumstantially driven, like when something needs to happen, then you can follow through. So my favorite way to systemize chores is to attach them. And my favorite way to attach chores to my regular life is to create a when-then pairing. And that's where the breaking down steps really help there. Before we go on, we also have to refer another sticky habit method principle of baselines. Again, we are shooting for more times than not. We are shooting for cleanish. So on the worst of days, I still want you to consider having baseline versions of your chores. That means the version of the chore that you can do on your worst of day. For example, today, as I'm recording this, I washed my hair. I also needed to get ready very fast in order to make it in time for an interview I had. So I wasn't able to clean like the whole bottom of the shower, for example, but I could do one corner. That was a flexible way for me to show up to that cleaning. I was still able to be consistent with, but it didn't mean I got sucked into the if you give a mouse a cookie cleaning. So if possible, create some baseline versions of your systems. This is how we can take our cleaning manifesto and make it really practical through a game plan. If you're struggling with a how-to, go through my Make Cleaning Easier game plan. And at the end of the day, if that's too complicated for you, I get it. Go back to the question Greg McKeown poses and just start with this. How can I make cleaning easier? If there's a thought that comes to mind right away, go for it. Go just do that thing. Make sure you get the cleanish guide at aboutprogress.com/cleanish. And I have some parting words for you. Remember, stay in the do something mindset. Shoot for more times than not with irregular stuff. Remember, cleanish is clean. Be flexible. Remember that things will still get dusty, dirty, and disorganized after you've cleaned these things. Don't rage. Expect things to be undone. Here's my cleanish advice from someone who mostly clean more times than not. If you're looking for advice from the experts, I want to refer you to some amazing experts we've had on the show. Tracy McCubbin and Carly Adams especially. We've had them on the show the past 2 years. I will link to those episodes for you. But I hope that this practical and still deep episode can give you some doable ways to love where you live and better live where you love. I hope this episode gave you the hug and kick in the pants you need to grow. There are no progress pointers for this episode simply because it would be, a mile long. But I do have that cleanish guide for you. So I'm going to refer you to that so you can create your own simple cleaning manifesto and a game plan that can help you in ways that aren't all about prescriptions. As part of that cleaning manifesto, you'll get a list of possible when-then pairings because that's my personal favorite way to deep clean, to break up the tasks and to attach them to other more consistent tasks that exist in my life. Those on my newsletter will get the cleanish guide automatically emailed to you, but the rest of you can find it at aboutprogress.com/cleanish. And that's CLEANISH. This podcast is listener supported. Members of the Supporters Club get access to 3 levels of exclusive benefits, from more time to more content with me. My favorite benefit is more personal. My private premium, always ad-free podcast where I get to lean into the personal side of personal development. I have been working for months, and I literally mean months, on a deep dive episode that aired recently or will have aired recently on More Personal, all about GLP-1s, in other words, weight loss drugs. And this isn't one of those all or nothing kind of episodes where I come out really for or against them. It's just more of my personal deep dive into this area of health, of wellness, of medicine that has really taken over the last few years so that I could better understand it myself. You can get access to that and all other benefits by going to aboutprogress.com/support. You can always support the show for free. Make sure you have subscribed or are following the show, leave a rating and review, share the show with a friend. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. That's a really important one right now. Any of those things are so important to the continuation of this work. Thank you so much for listening. Now go and do something with what you learned today.